Hey everybody, it's Book of Catherine, and I kind of look scuzzy because it's the morning after, I need to sit down. Okay, hold on a minute. There, I am sitting down on when you get a hotel room, I have to get the handicapped, a lot of times I have to get the handicapped hotel room. So today's handicapped hotel room has a bench in it, like an actual bench. You can see one of these shower benches or whatever. So I'm sitting in the shower bench. But don't freak out. I know that freaks some people out. Sometimes I don't share about that because I know that scares people. But anyway, so I have good news today. So my husband stayed home with me an extra after the whole Christmas thing. He stayed home with me a whole extra week. I was really not doing well, which makes sense. I understand some things now. We were talking about it last night because we stayed a hotel night and did a dance, a little ways. There was a dance. It turned out we found out we were looking for dances. Remember how it was New Year's Eve and I was looking for dance, nothing. We didn't see anything. We've been looking for dancing, a place to go dancing anywhere, even at DC, couldn't find anything. And finally, last night before he has to go back to work, he's like, there's a dance. It turns out we've been missing everything. We even tried to go to a dance and we got there and it was all cleared out. And I was like, I guess I'm not supposed to do any dancing. I guess it's just not meant to be. But I finally danced last night and we did the smart thing, we stayed at a hotel and just we're starting to change things, knowing the things that we know now about my head, working with the occupational therapist, working with the physical therapist. Everything's very different now. For example, going into this next 3 months, we now know we're going to try and do this thing where every 3 months I'm going to try and take a break so that I have something to look forward to. As I'm becoming more aware of the world around me, as the pain is starting to come down and I'm starting to be aware of the world around me, and I'm having to try to do activities every day, and I'm it's really a lot on my head. It becomes very difficult. I used to do what I'm doing now in this break, which is spend a few days down and then get to do something really great. So I always have something to look forward to, but then I have a few days down and then I go and do something really great and then a few days down. But now I'm aiming for activity every day. Well, that means no big activities to look forward to. I mean, we're talking nothing. You saw that the month of December and in November, I didn't go out in November and I didn't go out almost all of December. It took me weeks. It took forever for me. It was so hard. I never left the house. After I'd gotten to this point where I was almost leaving the house every day, almost every day, I was getting to see outside. I was getting to leave the house every day, and I had to switch to never leaving the house. That is, it does some kind of mind trip on you, but I have to switch gears to start moving every day, to make the goal to move every day. I mean, leaving the house every day, let me be very clear about it. It sounds like, oh, but you were moving every day. No, see, I was moving every day with assistance. I could move every day with assistance of my husband. When my husband would come home, he could take me and assist me out of the home. We're moving now towards, my OT and my PT are moving me towards movement every day, unassisted movement, where I move myself unassisted. Whereas every few days I down and rest, and then my husband would be home for a weekend and he'd assist me, and I can do quite a bit assisted. He can dance with me, he can take me places. I have become quite adept at doing things assisted. I could do the DC vacation assisted. In fact, the hotel we had such great service that I was doing dinners for being out for being out for an hour and 20 minutes or something. There's this kind of limit. We learned there was a limit, but I could do a dinner. I could go out in the morning, I did the church service in the morning, and then I did an actual dinner that night. I did 2 outings in a day, but that's because I had an assistant. I had my husband. I don't think of him as an assistant, but my occupational therapist and my physical therapist made me realize that. They're like, you're going out with assistance. That's not you unassisted. You're not doing this on your own. And I was like, oh, I mean, I just see as my body movement. No, I need to start doing unassisted movement. That's what I need to get towards. So that I'm looking, the next 3 months, I'm looking at daily unassisted movement, which is depressing, to be quite honest. It's a depressing life. It's mentally challenging because it's living inside. You're now able to go outside and you're choosing to stay inside for the long term. It's what I call a luxury decision now. I'm making a luxury decision to go for the long term. And so the point is that I know that's coming, and so I kind of knowingly switched to, I'm just going to stay down and do big things for the rest of vacation, knowingly doing that, because I don't get my husband home very often. I just don't. This is it. Like, this is the one time all year. Christmas is the only time I really ever get him home. And so we went dancing, and what I realized is like, I danced last night. I danced the house. Like, it wasn't any night and day from dancing just that 20 minutes. Remember I said I went dancing 20 minutes on New Year's Eve, and that is bad. I did 40 minutes. Well, I did something really stupid on New Year's Eve. Didn't realize it. I thought, oh, I'm dancing with my husband. And I was like, oh, I've worn myself out. I shouldn't do that. I'm just going to stand in place and stop dancing so I can stay a little longer. I was awful for days later. He had to massage me out. I was horrific pain, didn't sleep, horrible. Finally realized, well, what I had done was I just stood. Well, standing is like the one thing I couldn't do. Didn't even recognize it because of all the flashing lights, all the great people, all the great music. I didn't even think. I had just done the Apple Bungee, the whole like line dance. So I had done that, but I did that for 2.5 minutes. I didn't do that for another 20 minutes standing there, and I've still hadn't developed the glutes. Like, I've lost my entire butt basically. I have no butt muscles at all. And I'm basically standing there for 20 minutes, which is what my PT had been trying to get me to do for 30 seconds. And I haven't been able to do. I stood there and like, moving around, just kind of like doing the robot and everything, moved my butt muscles around. And I went to, so whatever it was, doing that. And then DC, I realized, did another type of occupational therapy that I didn't understand until last night, because I danced so differently last night. After DC, I was really zoned out. I was zoned out in a way that I was like, it's as if I've done a ton of occupational therapy. I was only zoned out like this in November and December when I did a ton of occupational therapy, like when I did the circles and the lines, when I just really bombarded the head with occupational therapy and got me to a signature, when I was just staring at the ceiling. That's how I was after the DC trip. I kept wanting to move, but I couldn't think. I couldn't tweet. I started 8 million tweets and could never finish them. Would start a tweet, then would start a thread, then I have so many drafts I can't even tell you. 1 million drafts, just can't even tell you. And I would just end up just being like, can't do it, can't complete a single task. And I'm like, it's as though I've done occupational therapy, but I went on vacation. It doesn't make any sense until last night, and I understand what I did last night. In DC, what happened was I have been in this closed space, basically like this. Here's a door, you know what I mean? Like, here's the bathroom. Everything's this small area of my life in this little house. Even the woods, that kind of expanded things a little bit. That's been my world. I mean, I'm on like speakerphone with my friends. Even then, their world, I don't see a whole lot more than that if we are on like video chat and stuff like that. And it's not as much of a reality. DC was like, I don't know if you've been to DC, but DC, like, would walk to CVS or something. It's big, huge squares, and it's like vast, far away. And it pulled my, remember how I talked about pain keeps you here. And then I was trying to develop becoming aware of this and becoming aware of where I am in space, DC, I realized, developed my awareness of the world very much more. Like, you can't help it. I'll still remember, I realized, I was talking to my husband last night and I was like, oh my gosh, like, the first night we were there, we went walking down to the White House tree, Sarah, and I remember being overwhelmed because we were by the tree, looking out and seeing a menorah further down the field in the mall, and then looking down and seeing the Washington Monument even further. And I remember not really being able to handle just seeing the menorah further down, and I couldn't really handle seeing the Washington Monument that further down. I had to focus on just the tree here, and I couldn't even really handle the White House. But as the week went on, I became more and more aware as I saw like the archives and this and that, and it would wear me out. I'd have to stand, or I'd have to recover. But you just would want to look out and see, like, the archives would pull you up. Like, the top of the archives looks exactly like our dollar bill, but in 3D, all the little etches, the entire rows are all exactly like our dollar bills and our $100 bills. All the etchings we have on our money are right there in the National Archives. The architecture so all of DC, we went in downtown, the architecture in DC, not only that, but all the big banks and everything had all these things that were all like the SDGs, the global goals. They'd have certain things would have like the global goals. Banks would have the colors of, the rainbow some would have it in the trees. And so it just was pulling me out constantly. All of that came together last night, and I realized last night I danced completely differently. I danced like a totally different person. I danced like I kept having to stop, but then I'd come back out as though I was just totally new and refreshed. My both knees would blow out, but I came back, I could feel more of my body. There was way less pain. I was the least pain I've ever had dancing. You guys know I have not been partner dancing nearly at all for months, almost since last summer. And last summer I didn't like dancing. I was been dancing on my own. Not this time. I was like nail, 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 nail. Dun, dun, dun. You would not. I was like, if anyone was sitting on this side, they wouldn't know I was injured. I was just pounding. And I had not wanted to do any dancing. I had come here letting my husband dance because I've cracked a rib in here. The adrenaline just pumped over the cracked rib. I've torn a muscle in here. This I'm learning is spasming all the time. I was like, okay, I won't do anything. No, adrenaline just came out. And I just pummeled out like a puma. And my husband was just like the whole time. And I just went. And you know what I realized when I got back in the room? What is it, January 3rd, January 4th? It's exactly 1 year since I got back on the floor. This is 1 year to the day. And there is something that happens, I think, in your body when your body says, oh, I'm not an invalid anymore. I'm a dancer. Like, this is really going to stay in my life. It's been a year. I've been dancing a year now. If dancing's in my life a year, then maybe dancing's going to stay. Like, I'm going to be doing that Mind and Body Institute. And one of my friends was like, I think your mind just needs to learn that it can do this stuff. And I was like, we literally hit a year to the day. My first time out was January 3rd last year. This was January 4th. And I really think my body just went, there's something, the moon and the stars, we move at exactly 365 days. I think there's something in that, neurons, my body was just like, oh, I believe that you can do this now. And it just did more. It did way more. And I mean, I'm hurting the heck today and my phone's about to run out of memory. But I mean, I hope you can see it. Like, there's a difference. Like, there's pain in new areas and everything like that. I know I have a long way to go. And now I have this 3 months. I'm like, that's what I want to say. The big success. So this morning, for the first time ever, I made a phone call to room service. Haven't ever done that before. Haven't been able to do that in maybe 10 years, 8 years. I was able to write down the order with my hand. The handwriting got weird as I got further down, but I was able to do it. It was still legible at the bottom. I was able to, my husband had to read the menu. My husband had to say what we could have and decide the order. I couldn't really read the menu, but I was able to write down the order. I was able to call. I was able to have the conversation, place the order. And when the guy came, I was able to actually write out the check, write out the tip. Always do 20% tip. Always. It'll always come back. Pay it forward. It will always come back. Always do 20% tip. Always. It will always come back to you. More money came to us when we started doing that. Believe you me. So, and I just wanted to tell you that I nearly cried and hit the floor because my husband was like, I can't believe you did that. And I was like, I can't believe I did that either. I got like so much functionality back. So I just want to tell you guys about that because it's a big deal. All right, I love you so much. I'm going to die. My phone's going to die. I love you. Thank you for this because I could not have done this without you. It's such an amazing journey. Videos here if we have time. Thank you.